Christmas, everybody. It's time to end the year with a holiday slasher, a Christmas slasher, and that is To All a Good Night. This is the directorial debut for David Hess, and I think the last film he ever directed. And after watching this movie, I'm not surprised that he never directed anything ever again. And this is the guy who was one of the rapists in The Last House on the Left by Wes Craven, and obviously this guy was not taking notes while on the set of that movie. He wasn't asking Wes Craven like, "Hey, how do you set up a shot? How do you make a movie?" Like, he wasn't asking questions like that, obviously, because this movie is fucking terrible. But almost in a good way. I'm very not sure how I feel about this movie because technically, and on basically all cylinders, this movie is fucking terrible. Almost every aspect of this movie is awful. But it's also at the same time in some ways, like, it's so bad it's good-ish. Like, I get a chuckle out of some things that happen in the movie. It just gets a little weird. There's some questionable things that make me laugh. So it's like, it's either going to be so bad that it's just bad for you, or it's going to be so bad that it's good. Something like a Silent Night, Deadly Night Part 2, Garbage Day. It's going to be one of those, it's one of those movies where it's like, it's either for you, and you just love how shitty it is, or you're going to be like, oh my gosh, this movie is just complete shit. It's one of those movies, and yeah, it is complete shit. I mean, despite how much I chuckled at how bad this movie is, not gonna lie, it's not for me. It was just more so bad that it's bad, alright? So, let's get into this movie. It is basically a typical slasher. You got this Santa outfit wearing person. This is before Silent Night, Deadly Night. The same year that Christmas Evil came out. That was another Santa movie. But yeah, you got this sorority, big old mansion. They live in a giant fucking mansion. I guess it's a sorority house, and there's a prank gone wrong or a game gone wrong. There's basically a prom night opening, and someone dies, and then it's 2 years later, and there's killings happening, and you basically know that whoever's killing is connected to whoever just died in the opening. Like, there's a revenge plot going on here, and that's exactly what's going on. And yeah, and for some reason, when they notice that there's people missing and there's a body outside, they just don't leave. They're for some reason just trapped in this house. They just won't leave. It doesn't make sense. There's questionable decisions. There's just all kinds of questionable things in here, and we'll get into it. All right, so what did I like about this movie is it has some nudity. I'll give it that. I'm grasping for good things to say about this movie, but it has some nudity. Not a whole lot. Not a whole lot at all. Just a couple of seconds here. And I like that the killers in this movie bury their victims. That's just very different. Like, in other slashers, they always hide the bodies somewhere, and they do that in this too. But they always hide the bodies somewhere in the closet, anywhere. And Psycho, he hides the body in like the ice machine thing. But in this one, like after each kill, they're just outside, like digging up another grave and putting the body in there. It's just all this extra work just to hide the bodies because they don't want anyone to catch on to what's going on, So it's just like, oh, okay, that's interesting, that's different. But then there's like another body that they just hide in the bush. So it's like you're burying bodies and then you're not burying bodies. But I guess it makes sense why there's different things going on here because there's two killers. Spoiler, I don't give a shit. This movie has two killers. So maybe one killer was burying bodies, the man killer, but then the woman killer, she was the one just being lazy and putting them in the bushes and shit. Maybe. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, I don't care about spoiling a stupid little thing like that in the movie. It's such a bad movie. You're not going to guess who the second killer is. It's impossible. I didn't see any signs that pointed towards that person. But the other killer, you will predict. 9 out of 10 times. 9 out of 10 people will predict who this other killer is. Because they're not doing anything to create red herrings in this film at all outside of Crazy Ralph. And I literally mean Crazy Ralph. That's his name in this movie. He's Ralph. He's Ralph, and he's the crazy caretaker guy. So generic. There's a lot of generic things like that in this film. And it's funny because this is the same year as Friday the 13th. And you got a Crazy Ralph in here, and you got this same killer motivation thing going on here. Dead kid coming back for revenge. You guys were making love. You guys were doing bad things, doing drugs, and my daughter got killed because of it. And so similar little things going on here from Friday the 13th. I have to wonder if they ripped off Friday the 13th. I like kind of just how horrible the movie is. I mean, it's laughable. It's a train wreck that you just can't look away from. You're just like, I can't believe what I'm seeing. I can't believe what I'm hearing. This is fucking awful. That you chuckle. So I got somewhat of an enjoyment out of the film because of that, because of how bad it was. But outside of that, yeah, everything else is just fucking awful. That opening was a big clue as to how bad this movie was going to be. This opening is so rushed. It's just like, boom, it's over. And it's like, that's it. Like, the person dies. Everything is shot so poorly. They do all kinds of questionable editing decisions. It's awful editing. It's so bad. And the music is so lazy and generic and just like trying to sound like Psycho at times. You got the killer who's like holding the knife out in front of them. This the whole time, just walking down the halls like this. They keep doing the same like shadow trick, like, oh, the silhouette of the knife, how cool. And they reuse shots like throughout. There's day for night shooting. There's just awful cinematography work in here. Like, this guy does not know where to put the camera and how to create tension at all. Like, things are just so quick. The pacing is so all over the place. Like, this movie is moving so damn fast at breakneck pace throughout the first like 20 minutes or so. Just like death, 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 death. And then all of a sudden it just slams the brakes, and now it's like a police investigation movie. I'm like, oh, what the fuck is this? And then after that whole miserable experience there, when it just slows down dramatically, and we're having to listen to these awful characters who you don't give a fuck about, they're all generic and bland and blah, and you just don't care. They're awful. The acting is so piss poor. The dialogue is just filler, and then it just hits the gas again. It's just death, 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 death. The whole middle just was just awful with the pacing. I just could not stand it. And then the mask is just terrible looking. I didn't care for the mask or the killer portrayal. It wasn't an intimidating killer at all. It's just the same like feet shots throughout the whole fucking thing. It's just there's no imagination here. It's just a cash grab. It feels like it just feels like they're like, okay, slashers are popular. We got 10 days. Let's just make a very quick shitty slasher movie as fast as we can and just throw a few buckets of blood in here. And the blood, the effects in here are awful. They look so damn amateurish. Like the slit throat at that one point, it's like starts to shift and move for a little bit. Like that just goes with the bad editing. Like they didn't know how to edit around the bad effects, so they just show everything. Like you see a dummy fall and hit the ground. It's such a fake ass dummy. Again, it's just so laughable. You're just laughing at how bad the film is. But yeah, just it's an abysmal film. Like just bad acting, bad everything. Just cinematography, the atmosphere here. It's a Christmas movie, but doesn't look or feel like it. There's Christmas lights here and there, but it's California. I've seen a lot of those lately with the Silent Night, Daily Night films. Just so many damn California Christmas movies that don't feel like Christmas. If you're gonna make a Christmas movie, you gotta set it somewhere else, not California. All right, I know it's a budget thing. They had 10 days in this probably producer's mansion. I bet that's where it was. Someone who was responsible for the film, they're like, just come make it at my place in my mansion. That's where they shot it. All one setting throughout the entire film. And you don't really explore much of this mansion. It's huge on the outside. And you probably see like 3 or 4 rooms in the whole thing. And there's probably like 30 rooms in that place. But yeah, it's a poorly put together film. It's so bad, it's embarrassing. Like it's just an awful film, but it's either going to be so awful that you'll laugh at it and have a good time. This is like the type of movie it's perfect for like gatherings of friends. You crack open some beers and get drunk and just laugh at how bad it is. It's that type of film, and maybe that was the intention because I'm not sure. I can't tell if they were trying to make the best film they could or if they were just like, let's just make this as silly as we can. I can't really tell with so I don't know. But yeah, just this is the perfect film for that occasion. Just friends, get drunk, get high, whatever, crystal meth, do whatever the fuck you want, and laugh at this stupid thing because it's a mess. When it comes to All a Good Night, this movie to me was just wasted time. So this movie opens up 2 years earlier, and they decide to use this weird filter around the screen to make it look like it's a dream or something, but it's not. It's just a flashback, but not really. I don't know. It's like you open up this way, and it's just jarring. The whole filter thing, it's blurry as fuck. It's stupid. Um, And yeah, it's basically like a prom night opening, which came out the same year. But instead of little girls playing a game, it's adults, the sorority girls, just causing this girl who's on drugs, I guess, to fall off a balcony and die. And then we see this dummy hit the ground, but it's so quick. It's so damn quick. They just breeze right past it. It's like, all right, we gotta get this set up, but we only got like 30 minutes to shoot it. Let's just get it over with. All right, body, boom, hits the ground. There was no setup to that. It was just so damn quick. At least in prom night, they built up to her falling out the window. And this one, it was just like, they're chasing her. She's on the ground. She's dead. Let's move forward. 2 years later, present day. They always do that. Friday the 13th did it. This movie's doing it too. Present day. Yeah, this movie takes place in 2020, apparently. Bullshit. Not with these outfits. It looks like the late 70s. The cops' outfits, especially, and their hair. Oh boy. So yeah, there's a random girl just making faces as people are leaving the college or whatever the place is. Like, she's just in the front lawn, like looking at somebody, but I don't know who she's looking. Like, she's clearly looking at somebody and talking to someone, and then she's like doing weird poses and making faces, and then it just cuts away. It's like, there's lots of weird little things like that in the film, and there's scenes that just don't need to be here. That go on for way too long. Lots of that. That's what I call filler. Lots of filler in here. I mean, this easily could have been like a short, and I think it would have worked better if they would have just crammed everything in the first night. Because this movie takes place over 2 nights, which surprised me. I thought this was going to be like a one-night thing. But no, it's a 2 night thing. But I feel like if they crammed it all in one night, it would be a lot more intense and fast paced, and it just would have been a typical, slasher still, but it would have been more fun, and you wouldn't have that boring section in the middle with the cops and shit. I feel like this was more meant to be like a short film. Maybe it would have worked better. So then we get nudity right away. This girl just sneaks out of the place. Her boyfriend gets stabbed off camera. And it's like, really? That's the first kill we're getting? That's not a good tone setter. And then the other chick, it just cuts to. She's dead. There's a lot of that in the film. Like, it just cuts to, like, the aftermath. And it's like, oh, she's dead. Because they knew that they didn't have the actual skill to set up a practical effect like that. Like, it's laughable.
I like cherry pie.
Yeah, you and Nancy both.
I like Nancy too.
After that, we meet Crazy Ralph. He's the caretaker, and he's talking about how plants were created by God for our pleasure. Sure, whatever, buddy. And then we get the Brit slit. The British girl gets her throat slit. The Brit slit, I called it. And that's the worst effect ever. Like, it just looked awful, absolutely awful. And then they find her blood in the kitchen. I like that because you don't usually get that in movies. The blood just disappears, which happens in this movie too. But in this case, they actually find the blood, and there's like, oh, whatever. Somebody cut themselves. Like, that much? That's a lot of blood on the ground. But they don't care. They don't mind. Let's just keep fucking and doing drugs. Oh boy. So then this guy is literally chasing tail. This girl is like, chase me if you want to have sex. And he's just chasing around the ping pong table. It was just another silly moment. It's got, like, they're acting so immature. These are very immature characters. And then you got, like, this girl who's very into this shy guy, but I think it's just because he's rich. Like, they establish that these are rich people. Like, these college kids fly in on their own private plane to get to this sorority to hang out. And so, yeah, she's all about this guy's money, more than likely, because no woman would bang this guy. And then we get this couple that's killed on a bear rug. They're just fucking in the middle of the living room. Any of their friends could walk by at any moment and catch them, but whatever. Privacy's not a thing. And I like that the killer was dressed up in this night outfit that was just in the corner. He put it on. He's just sitting there, and they, like, chops the one chick's head off with a battle axe, and then shoots the other guy right in the back of the head with, like, this crossbow. And so, yeah, that was probably the best moment kill-wise in the whole film. There's so many fake scares in the film, like, one after another. There's probably like over a dozen or so of them. There's not like the music attached to it, but there's a lot of like them bumping into each other and grabbing each other's shoulder just again and again and again. And then I like how this chick finds Ralph's body, but when she finds it, it just, like, his body springs up. Like, she falls towards his feet, and then his body went from being prone to, like, sitting up on his ass somehow. You never see that ever because it's not realistic, obviously. His body just sits up. And then we get this very awkward moment in the movie where this cop is like caressing this girl's face for like a whole minute, just like, I'm here to protect you. You just call me whenever you need me. I'm gonna be right around the corner. I'm gonna have 2 deputies here. Like he has his hand on her face for a whole fucking minute, and he's like, you moving his fingers around her fucking like chin, just like caressing her. It's so awkward. It's like, just slap his hand away. It's so weird. And yeah, so of course he was the killer. I mean, right, that was the biggest clue right there, I guess. Like, look how creepy he is. So yeah. And then this chick's into this cop for some reason. I'm not buying it at all. He ain't got money. The other guys do. Oh boy. So, and then we get the typical horror movie promise that's in every horror movie, really. It's the whole, I promise nothing's gonna happen to you. Not on my watch. We're gonna make it out of here A-okay, alright? This is a household that leaves their Christmas lights on during the day, wasting energy, and I like that the decapitated head is used as an actual shower head. It's a literal shower head. It's just sitting there in the shower, and the girl starts screaming. The cop comes in with a knife in his back, drops dead immediately, and she starts screaming. The killer reveals himself or herself in that moment. We don't see who it is, and she's yelling and yelling. Meanwhile, there's like 2 or 3 other people walking around this house. They don't hear her yelling upstairs. Bullshit. And then it cuts away from that. And you're like, all right, how does she die? They get in the bathroom. That woman who was screaming is no longer there. You think she's dead, but nope. She's out in the hallway with all this weird makeup, like lots of makeup on her, making herself look like a doll. Just big, bright, rosy cheeks. She's got all this makeup on. She's got like a white dress. She's dancing and singing. Just totally losing it. Like she's snapped in that moment, I guess. But what was said between them? Why was she left alive? It's never explained. It's never touched upon, like, why she was left alive in that moment. She just, the killer took the mask off. It was like, here I am. This is who I am, and this is my motive, and then I'm gonna let you live. Just go put on makeup, put a dress on, start dancing and singing to confuse the audience, and that's it. Like, what was all that shit for? Why was she dancing and singing? What the hell happened there? She just lost it? Why wasn't she killed? It doesn't make any sense, but whatever. So after that, we get like a Ralph death in Friday the 13th Part 2, which is a year later. This guy is next to this gigantic tree making out with this chick. He's cheating on his girlfriend, but she's cheating on him with this ugly ass cop, so I guess it doesn't matter. But the killer puts like wires around his throat and like lifts him up, and it would probably just like slice his chin, but it's like wrapped around his throat somehow. I don't know. The angle doesn't really make sense to me. But anyways, he's being hung from the tree, and he's, of course, bleeding to death. He's getting his throat slit. The other chick runs off, and so then this is when the killer reveals herself. There's 3 people alive. This is a very early reveal. Like, usually the reveal is like at the end, like, all right, you're the last one. I'm going to tell you everything. But it's like, no, there's 3 people still left. Not just the final girl. You got the final girl, and this guy, and this person. Like, there's like 3 people left, and the killer's already like, here I am. You killed my daughter. And what's hilarious about this is that this woman is giving this speech while she just saw this other victim run away. So she's letting people escape just so she can give this speech to this one girl who wasn't even there 2 years ago when that shit happened. And she's saying that. She's like, ma'am, I don't know who the fuck your daughter is. I wasn't there 2 years ago. I don't even know her. I'm new here. This is my first year here. And you're trying to kill me and you're saying I did it? It was hilarious. I laughed my ass off. She's like, I don't know who you're talking about. And she's like, no, you killed her. She was my baby. Very Pamela Voorhees here. And she's carrying the knife like she's Don Shanks in Halloween 5, just walking around with the knife up like that. So fucking stupid. Typical revenge motive. So dumb. Alright, so then, so the pilot that they told like over 24 hours ago, like, wait here, like they were going to be there the next morning, I think, but that guy, the pilot, he's just sleeping underneath the airplane on the airstrip instead of like going to a hotel or something nearby. Like they told him to wait at the plane and he listened, he obeyed. He's a little bitch. He's sleeping underneath the plane on the airstrip just waiting for his master. It's like, really? Wow. And then the killer somehow sneaks into the airplane without making a single noise, knows how to start an airplane, and then, the blade chops both of these people up and kills them. Oh, but the pilot, when she runs up first and she's like, we gotta get out of here, they're all dead, TJ's dead, he laughs about it. He's like, oh, TJ? That fucking prick. Like, he hates him. He's like, oh, good. The guy who pays my bills, basically, who I hate? Yeah, fuck that guy. I'm glad he's dead. So then the killer chases the final girl up to this balcony on the second floor, and it just cuts to her falling off, like hitting the ground. Like, we don't see a struggle at all. It's like her approaching her, and then it just cuts, and she's on the ground dead. Like, they couldn't, like, hire a stunt person or anything to, like, show someone, like, flying off the balcony and show, like, a struggle. Like, it just cuts to her falling off. We don't see her actually, like, do the work and throw the killer off. It's so poorly done. They're just like, we're lazy. Let's just cut to the body on the ground. They can fill in the blanks themselves, the audience, whatever. And then we get this 2 killers revealed, and the one killer was the husband of the house mother, who was also the cop in charge of the investigation. And, oh yeah, I forgot to talk about how the other cop died. He got the axe to the head, and they shot it in slow motion. It was very stupid. And yeah, so the cop gets killed with the crossbow. So we get 2 crossbow deaths in here. And then I love when they're leaving the house. The one chick says to the guy, the final girl says to the guy, like, we should go back in for Leia, the chick who's singing and dancing and clearly lost her fucking mind. She's lost her marbles. And the other guy's like, fuck her. No, let's just go. Let's just leave. The killers are dead. Let's go. And they just leave. And then it, like, pans over the other chick's dancing still and singing on the second floor balcony. La 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 la. And then roll credits. Crazy ending. Just a really crazy, dumb film overall. It's very poorly made, but maybe that was on purpose. They were trying to go for that so bad it's good film. But for me, it's just so bad. It's very bad. But yeah, those are my thoughts on To All a Goodnight. What are your thoughts on this movie? Put them in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. If you like what you've seen, you can hit this like button and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face in about 5 seconds. And until next time, Auf Wiedersehen.